You gotta do this first.
What the fuck are you on?
Life.
10, 9, 8,
Is that gonna be the cold open?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Midheaven Podcast, where we assess the stars for you. Thank you for joining us. My name is Candice Marie. This is my partner in crime.
Mark the cheese dealer. Oh, wrong dimension. I mean, Michael the peace dealer.
People keep asking, what do you guys do with your donations? We buy cheese, obviously, and charcuteries, and booze.
I'm just mind blown at how well mixed this is. This is
Well, you know, or you might know a tour thing about being behind the bar.
That's how I was like, oh, snap. Scorpios and drinks, or water signs and drinks.
Clink, clink. So, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, please join our memberships. We would appreciate it. Even if you can't get in on level 3, there's 2 other levels you can support us and make it possible for us to keep bringing you guys content. We're putting out podcasts obviously every week, so liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing helps us grow this channel. If you haven't seen our social media, check out our Instagram. Also, we have an Instagram and our personal pages. You can find Mike at the Peace Stealer on YouTube, Instagram, I'm sure Facebook. He's apparently the hottest astrologer in Las Vegas, says Google search. I don't know, that's what Google search says.
That's the numbers. That's what the numbers say.
You guys can find me also on Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. I'm on Instagram, YouTube. I do horoscopes and all that stuff, so if you want to follow what we're doing, please do. We're back here today to talk to you guys because by the time you're watching it, it's April, and hopefully you guys have liked the content that we've been putting out recently. We wanted to hop on here early and talk to you guys all about the solar eclipse in Taurus.
I'm not gonna lie. I was so focused on the Gemini eclipse, I didn't know this was the one.
Well, really the one that...
This is it.
The one that was really prominent for you was the one in November because it was on your ascendant.
Yes.
Yeah. So now the eclipses are moving into your 12th house and your
true.
6th house. So it's time to get on that ab kick.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've started my workouts again.
Hopefully it sticks in Aries season now.
So it's already a little shaky, but we already kind of starting off a little, but we gonna get it. We gonna get the momentum.
I laughed so hard when I saw your video where you like shaved your head and you had half a mustache. I was like, this motherfucker would go bald the first day of Aries season.
The decision was so impromptu too. I was like, I'm gonna get a haircut. I'm gonna shave off all my head. I was
Aries, the head. Yeah, starting fresh. I used to love my undercut. I had my undercut for a while. Kind of made me look like a porn star though. Sooner or later I had to grow up.
I saw that right now. Oh my God.
I missed the undercut. It was nice. It was like I can kind of like pretend that I had a boyfriend, like run my hands through my fingers. I would take it down myself and everything. Can you tell I'm an Aries moon? I don't give a fuck.
Yes, that's amazing.
Speaking of Aries season, I like the fact that you come walking in my front door and you're like, I'll have a whiskey tonight. Thanks.
I'll start with the whiskey.
I'm like, oh, we'll get right on that, sir. Don't forget to tip your fucking servers and bartenders in this case.
But instead, I got some delicious tequila.
It's too hot. Once you hit April, you have to switch to tequila. Like, if you live here in Las Vegas, it's got to be tequila and beer pretty much April through, September? Then you can switch to, like, hard, dark liquors.
I didn't even know whiskey's like for cold weather and then tequila's for hot weather. That makes sense.
I mean, real alcoholics will tell you, drink whatever you got.
I like that, though, because it makes sense.
I mean, it's just...
I would rather drink tequila.
I laugh because I'm like, you're gonna sit out here just like sweating bullets filming this podcast drinking whiskey?
See, I didn't think that whiskey would make me hotter, but...
I mean, it does. It does make people more attractive, yes. It does
that's true.
So does tequila.
That's my secret, but I didn't think, so is tequila. I didn't think that, whiskey would have that effect in the heat. but it makes sense because I've never drank
Would you
whiskey.
drink milk in the heat?
Milk was a bad choice.
Well, maybe if it was cold milk, I'd probably drink like.
Ew! Who's drinking milk? There's gonna be a bunch of angry vegans that are gonna be like, you need to switch to oat milk.
I just drink water. I don't like to drink milk, but I mean, I wouldn't mind. Shoot, I mean. But
Can you
no.
guys tell how Taurus eclipse is coming? We're talking
Yeah.
all about food and what pairs well with what season.
I remember tequila is special for me because when I went to college in a freshman year, and then the spring semester, I was pledging for a frat, and during the hazing process.
You were a frat boy?
Blue, you're my boy!
For a semester, yes, Theta Chi Alpha Psi. For a night, right, where they were like hazing us, they brought us into a room and we were like deprived of food and water for like several hours, and then they just fed us alcohol, and it was the first time I ever drank tequila. And I didn't know.
You got white girl wasted?
I didn't know tequila was tequila. I was yapping my ass off. They were just like talking to us, and we were just talking back, and the tequila started to hit, and I was talking shit. Like, I didn't even know.
There
I
is
was like,
something
this is
in
nice.
tequila. Like, there's something in tequila. Like, you know, like people are like, oh, tequila makes you take your clothes come off. Like, for me, it's like, as a white woman, I cannot metabolize tequila. I can't. I'll have like one or two, and anything beyond that, I'm not responsible for what
Oh
comes.
my God, yo.
That's great, though. I'm glad that was your first experience.
It was
tequila?
the first time I realized that I like tequila. This is good.
Yeah, especially good
yeah.
tequila.
Oh, true.
Good tequila is important. I mean, good alcohol in general, but like, especially tequila,
You
woof.
inspired me to find really good tequila. Because I've never understood in my 20s, like, why anyone would spend upwards of $500 to get liquor.
Until you turn 30 and you have horrific hangovers and you can't drink Boone's Farm anymore.
Now it's like, what does that even taste like? Like, now I'm curious. Now I have to get me a bottle. And
Of like what? Just
anyone
like,
wants to
just
sponsor
straight
this,
up
yeah.
like gold Jose Cuervo.
I want to find
Barf.
the most expensive bottle. Or
Oh,
the
a good
higher tier
bottle?
bottles, probably a few thousand, just so I could try it. Just so I could be
Such a
like...
Taurus thing to say.
Right. I'm seeing this in the North Nose of my Taurus, so I'm unlocking the Taurus swag. You know what I'm saying? I'm starting to be more Godiva chocolate smooth, traditional.
Yeah, you getting those
conservative.
face masks and shit too.
Mmm.
You gotta really
Anthony,
pamper
what?
yourself if you're gonna
Moisturizer.
really need to. Yeah.
And all that. I'm gonna take my time. I'm still going through the Savage of Aries, because I got Mars in Aries, so I just don't be giving a fuck sometimes. But, you know, I brushed my teeth again today.
Oh, congratulations!
Morning and
Thank you
night.
for doing
I took
that.
a shower. You know what I'm saying?
These are improvements.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to the dentist. I've been paying dentist
For
insurance.
Capricorn season, or I guess because, well, not Capricorn season, but just because of like all the aspects that are being made to Pluto here pretty
I
soon.
didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I only see the dentist when the moon is in Taurus, in Capricorn.
My tooth chipped while Pluto was on my moon.
Oh shit! I'm going to the dentist in a couple days. I'm excited. It's like one of the things I like to do.
In a couple of days.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, when the moon. I'm like on the phone with the receptionist, and she's like, "Okay, what day?" I'm like, "What days do you have free?" And I'm like, looking at the chart, being like, "Okay, when are there aspects between the moon and Venus and Jupiter?" And I like scheduled it 3 months ago. Yeah, I'm a psycho. All right, so let's get into this eclipse. You ready? You haven't even looked at it yet, have you?
Well, no.
Fresh eyes. You're
Because
looking
I
at it
didn't
with
know.
fresh eyes.
I didn't know Venus and Jupiter were going to be conjunct. That just blew my mind.
Well, that's what makes this eclipse a whole lot friendlier than the Scorpio eclipse, the lunar eclipse that'll happen 2 weeks later. You guys are gonna get that soon. Don't
Was
worry.
it the Scorpio eclipse that was 27?
That was Taurus. It was in Taurus.
It was in Taurus? Was it a full moon in Taurus?
Yeah, because it was in November.
Oh.
It was like the 19th.
So before we really go in, just so we can kind of give context to this, let's talk briefly about the Cancer eclipse and the Gemini eclipse.
Cool.
So like, what was the takeaways from there? Because we know the Gemini eclipse kicked in the whole, you know, pandemic and all the restrictions, and it was a change of our minds.
I would say
for
it was
sure.
even sooner than that.
It was
Actually,
before- it was
because
before that,
we
right?
were still seeing the eclipses, I believe, in 2020
before
with the
change of
North Node
administration.
in Cancer and the South Node is in Capricorn. The reason why I even remember that, I saw it on my Facebook stories, like this day in history, whatever your Facebook. I posted something in the spring of 2020 that was like all of these Italians that were on their back patio and they were singing while they were in quarantine and everybody was playing instruments and stuff. And I remember being like, oh, like really lean on the North Node in Cancer, like finding home and like, security and like family may be close to you, as it was actually getting ready to ingress, I think, and go into Gemini. So the difference between like North Node and Cancer, I think, was just a lot of like being in the home. And a lot of people were like, well, if I'm going to be home, I'm trapped with my family or my kids or my mother-in-law, whatever. A lot of people renovated and expanded home because they realized they were going to be home a lot longer than they anticipated. So I think it was just bringing us back into our homes.
And that was like 2018 to 2020, right?
Yeah. And then the North Node went into Gemini. I guess prior to that, looking at the South Node in Capricorn,
Right.
It was the South Node in Capricorn with also Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto, right? Yeah. So, I mean, thinking back, it was kind of like this huge blow up of the government, everything going on with control. Obviously, the South Node can be like this overpowering and like, undoing situations and kind of taking stuff over. Then the North Node went into Gemini and there were eclipses in Gemini and South Node eclipses in Sag.
Yep.
So what do you make of that? Also, just so you guys know, we have to tell you, eclipses come in pairs. So you see, usually they're 6 months apart. So you see them back to back. So it's a new moon and a full moon basically on steroids. Sometimes every so often you'll see that there's 3 that happens in a sequence, but usually it's 2 that are 6 months apart. And the nodes change signs about every year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
But for the North Node to go through the same sign, it's going to happen every about 19 years. So you look at cycles for when we're seeing eclipses in these signs about every 9. Okay, so the North Node was in Gemini, South Node was in Sag. What do you make of that?
That clearly, as we saw, changed everything. I can confidently say that.
Why? Because Kanye came into power, and so did Donald Trump.
Yeah. And Russell Brand, shout out to you, man. G. But yeah, I mean, we everyone entered it with a certain perspective and left it with a completely changed mind, And just what I wanted to ask, so we could kind of see in context how impactful the Leo one was, the Cancer one was, the Gemini was, because I wanted to bring context because this Taurus one is the one. Now, the one in Aries is going to be the one because Aries is the one.
It's going to be starting a new cycle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with the North Node and stuff there. I mean, we're getting a preview of that this year, I think, with the Mars and Jupiter.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, I feel like North Node and Gemini made us realize that there's 2 sides to every story. And I guess there's pros and cons to that. Narratives. Yeah. That's a great explanation. Narratives, tone, 2 different perspectives that the media is given, 2 different sides of a story. But also it's just like a lot about traveling, right? We saw a lot of people that are like, why am I paying all this money to live in an expensive city? I'm going to live in an RV, or I'm going to travel and move around. Or we saw a lot of people actually go looking for new places to live, or maybe they were living with other people, more so communally. So like we've seen people go from homes to apartments, or from living by themselves to with other people. Obviously, we've also seen the price of living increase, so it's becoming incredibly more difficult, I think, to have kind of like that Cancerian, hey, I can pay my mortgage, I've got a big piece of land type situation.
Yeah. And now we see people buying land too. Or
Yeah,
more.
For sure. You're going to see
new land
this a lot more. Also with the South Node and Sag, we saw it very difficult for people to fly. Right?
Literal travel restrictions.
Yeah, travel restrictions, but also people couldn't go to church or synagogue for periods of time.
You know what I didn't realize about that? The ruler of Sag, Jupiter, was next to restrictions. Saturn.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, yeah, and
That's
it's also crazy. In what? It's in its fall in Capricorn.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just wanted to highlight, like, this Taurus eclipse is foundational. This is just going to provide, like, a whole. This is the manifestation of the change of the game. So I really feel like this will be a literal landmark eclipse that we can look at as before and after, and not in the same way as every other eclipse that we had. And I'm excited about it. I'm biased because I'm a Taurus rising, right? So I know this is a long time coming, but Venus and Jupiter here, and Neptune and Mars, which is the 10 of Cups here, is literally 11th house to this, and hopes and wishes. Starting this off with you having your hopes and wishes come true at the highest level. Like,
I'm
feeling too good to be true.
I'm more optimistic about this eclipse than the other eclipse.
Yeah.
I feel like things are beginning to. We're gonna see like lots of like physical shifts and changes. Like I can go on and on about this, so I'll try to not turn this into a rant. But like North Node in Taurus is about embodiment. And like, are we actually in our bodies? How do we feel in our bodies? It can also be about addressing issues relating to hoarding or excessiveness or materialism or greed. Remember, the North Node is going to point to where it's like, it's very mysterious and it's super hungry and it's craving that. On the flip side, it's going to have us looking at our body and vibrations because it's in close proximity to Uranus, and how we're responding to things vibrationally, and also how the earth, because it's an earth sign, is responding to just the frequency changes with the Uranus transit. So we're going to see lots of, I think, like earthquake energy, eruption energy,
really
things that rock and rattle and roll. Because of its conjunction between the sun and the moon and Uranus.
Probably collapsings of mines too.
Well, I mean,
like other underground places and bunkers.
I think that's interesting because some of the more North Node, because underground and subterranean is actually Scorpio. So the South Node being in polar opposite to this, and just the fact that you're seeing trines, I'll go as far as saying this. Looking at the trines between Jupiter, Venus, and Neptune and Pisces, which is a whole conversation in itself, but those trines to the South Node in opposition to this eclipse makes me feel like there are going to be earthquakes and certain things that may be near coastal cities or maybe from the ocean, which expose riches. Treasure.
Oh,
right?
That's so beautiful.
Right. So there's going to be something that it's going to be like, oh, there was this catastrophic thing, but oh my God, we fucking found Atlantis. Yes, I'm going to keep driving that home because I think it's going to happen. That, or maybe they find like an old ship that sunk, and then they find tons of like actual gold or jewelry.
But the thing is, like, who is finding it, and what lengths will they twist media perception to make it look like it's not that big a deal? Or did someone find it, make it public, so now they have to be open about it? Like, there's a lot of variables.
I also feel like this is going to probably bring up things revolving around offshore oil drilling. I mean, a lot of people are making money off of oil right now, and everything in relation to just the inflation with gas and what's being told that, there's shortages. Like, people are making a ton of money. And whenever we see like Jupiter in conjunction to Neptune, because that does deal with oils or like liquids, I think we're going to see the prices rise. So maybe as a result of this eclipse, we see it kind of really peak then. Maybe it's going to kind of tear off 3 months later, maybe 6 months later. But yeah, I mean, I just think the North Node with the conjunction to the eclipse and Uranus is... Wow. That's going to be extremely...
That's going to be the literal reaction of everyone.
It's liberation, though.
Yeah.
Right? It's liberation.
Yeah.
But
Saturn is liberation, too. Saturn is liberation, but I think Uranus is like a more raw, like, without the rules aspect of it.
Also, Uranus goes up. It's about elevating from the ground up, right? Or is it the other way around, from the head down? No, it's from the head down. So I feel like because you're already on top, because Aquarius is Uranus energy, you're like looking down at everything and you're going to ground it out, versus Capricorn, which wants to elevate. It wants to go up.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe it's like kind of looking at things as like, maybe that's to the peak, right? Like maybe we see a really high and a run in the markets.
Right. Then the Saturn square has to limit it.
But yeah, the Saturn square is going to limit it. But one thing that people are not aware of is, and you guys will see this when we see the next eclipse, we'll talk about it in another episode, that eclipse is a little bit more gnarly. So I feel like volatility is the magic word, basically, for this period between, you know, the end of April all the way through May. Like, eclipses also can be felt weeks, if not up to like a month in advance. So you don't need the eclipse to bring something up. But I would say to you guys that this is eclipse that makes me feel like it does have like lots of opportunity and sparkles and positivity, especially spiritually and in terms of like romance, which can be really sudden. Like people
feel like
can
things are coming together.
People can suddenly fall in love or come into a ton of money or like win the lottery or like meet the love of their life. Like that can happen with this for sure.
And like she said, the lead up and build up to that will be felt before it happens. So it's not all just going to happen.
No, you're feeling it. You guys are feeling it now. That's why we wanted to put the video out a little bit earlier.
So, you know, I feel like with that Saturn square,
it's looming in the background.
yeah, like ready to
looming.
make, you know, new rules and restrictions for new fields. And I see that as like governments cracking down on gangs and underworld criminal and corporate activity. But what this made me realize is all of this is preparing us for the Pluto Square to the nodes.
Yes,
And
this is correct.
yeah, that's going to be terrifying in the best of ways. And honestly, too, like, this is also the countdown, because 22 degrees by the time we get to Scorpio to be in the second decan. And this is definitely going to mark a literal new beginning and cycle and seed. Like for many of you, this is going to be immediate cash returns. But if not, you're planting a seed and foundation where even if you have $0 in the bank, you will know how to assuredly come into material gain through this. So if you don't come into it, you'll have the formula and blueprint because you're planting the seed. It's just Uranus is a magic beanstalk, so it's going to grow instantly. And I didn't really realize how the North Node in Taurus cycle is technically the Pisces end of the transit, because you're coming into that foundation and then it goes into Aries and you move forward. It's just before it goes into Aries, it's going to square Pluto, which to me just looks like a total reset, clearing, new world order type deal. So
okay, simmer down now, Joe. I mean, like, honestly, I think...
And the alien hybrids.
I think there's about to be a huge wealth redistribution.
Mm-hmm.
That's the feeling that I'm getting. And some people are in on it, and they know, whether this is like certain globalists or certain investors or what have you, because I keep looking at those aspects from Venus. You know, Taurus is ruled by Venus, but it's more the indulgent, the I possess, what feels good, like values, right? What you can obtain. So on one hand, like I said, that whole like offshore drilling, I think they're going to be like, oh, we have a solution. We found, you know, a new way to be able to bring in what can be oil, or maybe they find new materials off the coast of somewhere and they bring it in and that ends up being the riches. It can be figurative. It doesn't have to be literal like gold. But I think also with the sextiles to Pluto, that's big. Right? So Venus just conjunct Jupiter is like hitting the fucking lotto. But that in a sextile to Pluto is like everything you've ever wished for.
Everything, yeah.
Right?
It's such a huge buildup, and it's attached to the eclipse. And, you know, personally, I feel like Saturn in Aquarius, the last time Saturn was in Aquarius, the internet was a literal baby. And this was like 91, and then before that it was like 62. The internet, we didn't have like video chat. You know what I mean? So like this is
but communal lifestyle was a big thing then. It was becoming a thing.
It was becoming
in the
a
60s.
thing.
It was becoming a
Right.
thing. The way that now
Which
we
is
all
pretty deep. And that was when
connect on the
Uranus
internet.
was in Virgo and Pluto was in Virgo, and so now it's in Capricorn. And these group dynamics. We could take this example for like money, but I'm gonna use it for like YouTube, right? Like I think we're gonna see the beginning of group dynamics where like people are part of a group and it's like, okay, I'm now a part of a community with millions of people. and maybe they all pay a premium, or maybe they're all cool. And whenever I drop a video, they all like my video. Whenever someone drops a video, we all show support.
Yeah.
And it's like everyone's winning together.
Yeah.
And that could probably cause friction with how the government tries to say, oh, that's not legal because they do it with money. And
I feel like the Saturn
redistributes it on
Uranus people in general, they're here to liberate and kind of
Sagitt
break
Cap.
free of some of those restrictions, right? At least in terms of like the government and
busting
controlling
the system.
Yeah, for
I'm glad
sure.
you mentioned that, because the only Saturn Uranus that I think we have is in Sagitt Cap, right?
Yes. Well,
That's
there's
really deep.
another one, but that's I'm trying to think of what year it would have
That's
been.
going to be in Gemini.
Yeah,
the-
there's
the
another
next
one
one.
coming. Yeah, I mean Saturn Uranus wasn't there one? No, it wasn't in Libra. What was it in? I'll have to look, but
That's a really good question. It must have been like back in the day, though.
yeah.
No.
But I mean, usually, I think when we see aspects like this, if like the chart ruler is involved in any capacity with outer planets, which it's conjunct Jupiter, it's conjunct Neptune, it's sextile Pluto. That in itself tells me that this is going to affect the whole world.
Yep.
You know, there is
Yeah.
a global shift, and I have to tell you, we're filming this right now at like the third, I think, week or so of March. So we don't really know what's going on. Ooh, we're in the future. Okay, I didn't do that. But
Yo.
but I think this is
Might be
well
with time travel.
welcomed after the shit show that I know is going to play out at the
Oh,
beginning of
yeah.
April, because we see the Mars-Saturn conjunctions and
demolition.
also the squares to the nodes. Like, perhaps maybe this is the waving the white flag and the opportunities for peace and peaceful negotiations
Or at least the first round of them.
globally.
Because Mercury is
Globally.
in a retrograde, so that's going to reverse whatever decisions may be made.
Yes.
Or at least change a lot of things. And personally, you know, I think what is going to be a huge part of this, like, reset, is this eclipse is fundamentally going to bring out the next level of technology that will influence us for the next 25 years.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like, this is the
Yeah.
Steve Jobs
Yeah.
introducing Windows on stage dancing with
Yeah,
his
because it's
homies.
setting the stage. I mean, it's at a 10, which is about building, especially long term. So this is a great eclipse to work with, not necessarily to launch something. I'm always hesitant for people doing anything within about 3, 4, 5 days of an eclipse. But it can start the process of planting the seeds for what may be more abundance 6 months from April. So looking at the eclipses that are going to play out in Scorpio and Taurus in the fall, like if you are somebody who's like, I want to make radical shifts and changes with my resources, or I realize I need to sell things or practice minimalism or invest here or get serious about the future of what my resources look like, it may not necessarily just be money. I think it's also going to be about food, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. Maybe we might even see smart food and smart drugs and smart plants and smart, you know, smarter appliances.
Something about that, though, with the Capricorn degree and also a Taurus degree, Uranus in the Taurus degree, I think that, you know, the Saturn-Uranus squares is between Uranus and Taurus and Saturn and Aquarius. It's really looming still all year, right? It's going to come back really hot and heavy at the end of 2022. So I feel like this is going to be everybody's reaction to the realization that, oh shit, we have been hearing there's supply chain issues, but now I really can't
like the
get
reality
the things.
of it.
Yeah, now I
Yeah.
can't. What do you mean I can't get bread? I can't
so
get
true.
wheat. I can't get flour. I can't get
And to give
seeds.
context to that, when I hailed the lift to come here, these people were talking about, we have a 55-cent fuel surcharge. I'm like, what are you like, what kind of bullshit is that? You charging me extra money because of the lack of fuel? Like,
North Node and Taurus with Uranus. I mean, we're literally paying. There's inflation. It's going to keep going up. Also, we're paying more for food, and I want you guys to start looking. I'm just telling you this right now. Start looking at your packaging.
yeah.
Start looking at your packaging, because prices are going to get higher, but I have a prediction that serving sizes, actual weight and what is being packaged is going to start changing. And you would never know because you're still going to reach for your fucking, I don't know, cinnamon toast crunch, whatever you heathens eat. Just kidding, I fucking love cereal.
Right.
But I bet you're going to start getting less and you're paying more. And then we're going to hear, oh, you're getting charged for, environmental tax, fuel charges, meat charges. There is more taxes and limitations and other things coming that pertains to Taurus related things, not just energy, but land, food, whether or not they are going to be subsidizing stuff for farmers. I mean, huge economic shifts and upsets will come from the eclipse that happens 2 weeks after this. So I think on one hand, people are like, woo, we're going to make a bunch of money. So it's like maybe they do make it easier to trade crypto.
Yeah.
Right? And that frees up the markets. We have Jupiter, Venus, Neptune. A bunch of people are like, fuck, I'm a millionaire. No, I'm not. I'm a millionaire. Have you seen that commercial? I'm a millionaire. No, I'm not. It's because he's watching crypto go up and down.
Oh, no.
But then 2 weeks later, it's like, and you're going to pay 40% tax on it. And people are going to go, what? Like, it's going to be...
So that's the South Node Scorpio.
Wild.
South Node Scorpio, I feel, is people turning Walter White and just being like, okay, how are we going to square Saturn here? And I can see a lot of people turning, not tricks, but turning like being smarter with their money, I'll say.
Well, you really want to, but also
Yeah.
it's just about reimagining what it means to be wealthy.
Yeah.
Because you can go and buy... you can go and buy vegetables and you have vegetables for a week.
Yeah.
You can go buy seeds and you could probably eat, if you know what you're doing, all year. Right? You get what I'm saying? Especially if you know how to harvest and be able to do that. So we're going to see this huge shift towards like financial freedom and things that can come if we're actually better with what we're investing in. Are we starting community gardens? Are we doing community investing in pools of resources? Are we getting back to learning more about trades? Because I could see that physical labor with Taurus in the second house and the fact that people are willing to kind of roll up their sleeves and not be fucking millennial pussies and go and get their hands in the dirt and know what it is like to go and build a community. I mean, like, those are the people who really understand those tasks and they're willing to do the heavy lifting. Those are going to be the people who are going to be, I think, well off and riding pretty high on the hog.
Yeah, whoever's the most grounded, whoever's, like you said,
gardeners
and
farmers and people who know how to bake and know how to cook and know how to handle
hands-on.
Yeah, I think
No, but here's the cool thing too, because we have that square to Saturn, we have the Uranus, so it's also a lot of people are going to be forced into situations where they have to learn it. So it's also the beginning of a new journey, kind of coming back, awakening this in a lot of people too, where they're deciding not to and getting with that, because it's going to kind of force some people to get with that trend, as if they don't, they'll pay for it by being in those real situations.
Well, look at the Jupiter Neptune stuff going on. I mean, with
because it's going to be a new way to do everything.
It's 11 signs to the eclipse.
Yeah.
So there will be people who are already a part of these groups who will receive a wealth of assistance, knowledge, what have you.
Through a cloud.
Yeah,
so they're
through a
probably
group.
not even like in the same vicinity as you too. And like you said, they're just sharing everyone has a different skill. It's like going on Skillshare. And so now we're in a unique period where you can learn all of these skills. And this new cycle is gonna bring new value. We're gonna see new currencies rolled out, which will open up new jobs. And personally, what you keyed me in that just triggered me too was when you said brand names, because we're in a unique period where everyone and their mother, is a singer, rapper, has a podcast, has a brand. And we're going to see a proliferation of new brands, new brand names that will impact and influence humanity for the next 3 decades. But you don't know their brand names.
Yeah.
This is like Versace starting before it's Versace.
Yeah, but it's like if Versace, Gucci, and like Louis Vuitton got together and went, hey, we're all fucking awesome. Let's start a company.
That too.
So I think what you're really going to see is almost like, what would that be, like conglomerates?
So you're saying the current mainstream heads are going to even level up?
I think,
or just
how else are they going to rule the
come
world?
together? They're so do you think they would see because what you said is so very important, because they represent the already collective trend. So if you think that Uranus and Taurus are independent people
Yeah.
who are like, let me start do they see them as competition? Or like,
I don't
are
know.
they
I mean, that
sourcing
might
them
be the
too?
Saturn Uranus square.
Right.
That might be that, you know, old institutions and groups, we look at, you know, the way that big companies are, and you have board members and you have the people on top, and then you have like, you know, like the employees and the interns making $9 an hour just scanning stuff, hating their life. Like, what if the future of wealth and wealth in terms of business is you come in, you know, we're going to have X amount of people who are going to be ownership. It's all going to be equal. We're all going to bring our own unique talents to the table, and we're going to make the best thing ever.
Yeah.
I mean, there may be a lot of power in what individuals actually bring to a group, and where there is going to be shared resources, money. I mean, what if we end up working for companies that are like, we have our own coin, we'll pay you in our own coin?
Exactly. Like, it's
type
going to be
stuff.
some new novel. I think that's genius. So exactly what you said, because people are going to have to get used to certain concepts that have never before been done. Because it's just not a regular eclipse.
And like,
Uranus
that's
is
part of the
so-
reason why we did the podcast. Like, I remember having a conversation with you before we did this, and I was like, look, Saturn and Jupiter are going to be in Aquarius, and I was like, if we do this now and do some kind of, okay, it's
fast.
fun, like, we're friends, like, we can be like commentators, we can also have a good time, but we're also going to be able to start showing the platform of where the future is going, which is like, you're going to have commentators, you're going to have people who are going to be sitting on panels again. It's going to be less, I think, about just like what we do, or the fear of being able to, I think, partner with people because of competition. You know,
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
all the Capricorn energy, all this Pluto through Capricorn
That's
has
so
been
true.
a dog eat dog world, and I think
I
that
didn't even realize that.
it isolates people. You know, it really isolates people.
That keyed me into Pluto Aqua. Like, that's gonna definitely so you help confirm more why I feel that whole anti-celebrity movement is coming up.
Well, and Pluto in Aquarius, like you've said, like that's the end. That's just going to be
The
like the star
star
killer.
Yeah.
But like Pluto in Aquarius also, because Pluto is wealth, those who are wealthy in terms of knowledge and information that they're willing to share with a group will be wealthy.
Yeah.
Because there in turn, you're going to be teaching people who need those techniques or that insight.
Yeah.
It may be very exclusive. It may be a position in time where, you know, the masses can access information if they're willing to pay for it. I think of like the Patreon platform. It's literally something like that, where, you know, maybe you can afford $5 a month, maybe you can afford $100 a month. Here's the tiers, and I have information. Like,
and people are making like $32,000 to $50,000 a month.
I know somebody making about $30,000 to $40,000 a month on that right now.
And that's not even the true potential. Like, I'm pretty sure that person doesn't even have that much patrons making that much, and they can make.
Well, I
so
mean,
much
and I
more.
think the cool thing is that just shows you where you can bring a lot in from a large group of people, but make it affordable, right?
Exactly,
Share that
right.
information so
Power
everybody
numbers.
benefits from it. So I think maybe we'll see more like sliding scale or
Sliding
minimum
scale, yep,
donations, or, you know, if you
Nonprofit work, too.
can't afford it, what can you bring to the table? Can you film something? Can you edit something? So it's cool, but I also makes me wonder, like, if that's where the future is going, does that mean that censorship gets so bad and it gets to such a point where the internet is a joke? Like, it's limited, or you can only see so much, or it's intentionally filled with false information or roadblocks or limitations, shutdowns, slowing down speeds.
Well,
So
that's the split in the square, because what
Yeah.
you said is so key. I see people making their own internet. People making their own physical routers.
There was fire, and then there was internet.
Yeah, straight up. Right.
Somebody's in a room, like, trying to put cables together.
Everyone has their own, like, mini tower, and then, like, they have their own cell phone service.
Oh, yeah,
and
just
like
the 5G.
you can't get
5G heathens will
You know
just
what I
love
mean?
that, you know?
Right, and they can just like tap into different towers and then sell their own cell phone service, probably get some permits or whatnot. Like, we're gonna see that. We're gonna see, and I think it's the younger generation that's gonna shock people's minds with that too, and like
That I was
popularize
looking
it.
at the guys, the kids, you guys aren't kids, but the kids having, I'm so fucking old, I just said that. The kids having the Saturn return, I think it was in either 92 or 93.
For Aquarius.
They have the South Node in Gemini and Jupiter in Libra. So it's in an air trine. And I think with their South Node in Gemini, it's possibly going to be about them.
You're right, they do.
Like they're going to rework all the networks and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of them are doing that now too, as far as like also holding accountable, because there's just so much old tradition that's just not going to fly anymore, and it's just not flying anymore, for better or for worse. So I mean, yeah, so now let's talk about the controversy, because there's a technological rollout, but a lot of sexual controversy, a lot of sexual exposure.
Yeah.
You know, people
The
being a lot
trines
more
to the South
comfortable.
Node.
Exactly, yeah, the trines for sure.
I think they're going to start, like we were talking about this before we got on the podcast, because when we looked at it from Las Vegas, it did give us, you know, the ascendant being in Leo. So it put all of the Taurus in the 10th house and the Venus, Jupiter, Neptune conjunction in the 8th. And we were like, whether you look at it from that perspective or just, you know, how many houses away it is, I think they're going to tax escorts more, or there's going to be more open discussion about, okay, well, can we make money off of tax-wise people who are involved in sex work? Do we change and legalize it in some capacity to make it so we can make money off of it? I'm saying from the perspective of the government. Mm-hmm. Scandals, drugs, sex, rock and roll. I mean, that's very the last degrees of Pisces. Mm-hmm. I think there may be a very famous woman who may like overdose or may be found having drowned or something like that could happen. I mean, obviously these aren't positive things, but
a lot of conspiracy theories will no longer be theories. Like the next batch of theories will no longer. I feel like every period there's just a batch of theories that are just no longer theories, and some that stay theories, and there'll be a lot more that aren't. And on top of that,
I mean, but look at Venus and Mars are in good aspect too.
Yeah, for real.
So not only does Venus conjunct Jupiter, sextile the North Node, but Mars is in Pisces, sextile the Sun, Moon, Uranus.
Which is very charged, so there's definitely a forward movement right off the bat, which makes me think of like, you know, a beanstalk energy. And remember, everything that we're seeing now is transition. So this is all, it's all preparing for 2023.
I feel like we're going to see like
boom,
peaceful protest, peaceful movement, a real uptick in meditation, anything in relation to yoga and philosophy and like that kind of stuff. But I also get the impression with the Mars moving in, like I think we're going to see like lots of people going in and giving foreign aid.
I think we're going to see both. My bad. So that what?
Yeah, like just like foreign aid. So I think of like, you know, doctors across borders or whatever that is. I think we're just going to see globally there's some movement to go and give aid somewhere. So once again, coming off the heels of, I know what's going to be a very rocky first 2 weeks of April. I mean,
for every peaceful protest, that I think there's going to be 2 terrorist attacks. A whole new wave of terrorism is going to strike. And it's going to be cyber terrorism.
And hidden and hard to track and hard to know where it came from. Or it could
even be an organized, orchestrated cyber attack. Could be
stuff that's invisible, like gases or invisible frequencies.
It's 100% that. Quantum. Yeah. It's definitely quantum.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Did you see that thing that they're doing? I started seeing some like preview for it, but there's like certain cities in Europe. I want to say it's near France and somewhere, and I don't remember, but there's like 3 cities and they're calling it like the portal, and they're telling everybody that it's like these big mirrors, like, oh, it's meant to like look into other cities and it's about a reflection of each other, and it's supposed to be like an art installation. But some people are like basically like, you know, conspiracy theorists that are like, they're about to fucking like unleash or open like Pandora's box, and like mirrors and magic have always been used as portals, and they're saying that it's the setup to be able to go in and out of portals and to be able to hop through dimensions or go in and out of different cities, but they're attracting people to come and take pictures in front of it, obviously, and to look at it, but they're saying it's going to start opening portals.
I can believe that.
Yeah, there's going to be some fucking crazy shit coming. Like, you guys are like, yeah, whatever, but...
No, but that's why I wanted to... That's why I started it by saying, let's talk about Cancer and Gemini, because the crazy level of this is going to be, like, never before seen. Like, it's going to be a lot of concepts we struggle to accept over the next few months. But what's going to be easy for you to accept is joining level 3 on the membership, or level 2 or level 1. Thank you for joining us. All right, and we'll see you.
Like a used car salesman. No, but seriously.
Yeah. Oh,
Join our
yeah.
memberships. Make it possible for us to keep doing what we're doing. Let us know, what do you think about this eclipse? Is it happening around your birthday? What are you anticipating? Leave us a comment below. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, we will see all of you guys very soon. Take care.